Hi, everyone, and welcome. First of all, Happy New Year, Happy 2022. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our second event in our second annual New Year series, Movement is Medicine. This series will continue every Tuesday in January at 5:30 p.m. Next week, we have a healthy cooking class, followed by a topic on healing and hope. And if you missed the first event of the series last week on financial health, that event is available on our YouTube channel. We hope to see you again before the series concludes. I want to thank you all for participating tonight. We'd love to take a quick moment to get to know all of you better. So if you could put in the comments where you're joining us from, and if you're an alum, what year you graduated. Wherever you're tuning in from, we're so glad that you are here. Many of our attendees this evening are CSU Alumni Association members. So I want to take a quick moment to thank all of the members out there. You make events like this and all of our other programming possible. So thank you very much. If you're already a member, you should have received this exclusive 2022 member calendar in your mailbox. If you're not a member, it's not too late to receive one of those. If you join this month by the end of January, one will be mailed to you. In just a moment, I'll be adding a couple of links to the comments, including a link to download our mobile app, which you can also do via this QR code here on the screen, as well as some resources that we compiled for you as part of the New Year series to help you get your year started off on the right foot. We also will provide links for our upcoming events and programs. We have lots of virtual and in-person events coming up, and we would love to see you again soon. I think that is it from me. I'm now going to pass things over to our wonderful presenter for the evening. We're so excited to have him here with us. This is Dwayne Ruff, the director of the Black and African American Cultural Center here on campus. He's also a 2003 alumnus and a former student athlete. Take it away, Dwayne.
Thank you very much, Dakota. Appreciate you. And it is so nice to be here with you all. And I am looking forward to sharing a little bit about movement with you all. And the title Movement is Medicine comes from a group that I'm a part of that I'll explain to you all as I move along. But I am so into storytelling, so I'm going to start by telling a little bit about my journey in health. So again, if you are here, please throw your name in the chat. Let me know who you are and where you're from. And then as I talk, if you have any questions, comments, anything to what I'm saying, please, by all means, let me know. Then once we get through once I tell you a little bit about my story, then we're going to move into, I'm going to show you all a little bit of a morning routine that I have. So it's one of many that I've developed over the years, but I've come to find out that a morning routine for me is the best and healthiest thing for me to engage in. And with my day and how my work day ends up going and with kids, this really makes a lot of sense. So let's get started. So my journey starts right after college. So I graduated in 2003. I was a member of the Colorado State football team and track team. And one of the cool things that I'd like to tell people is I own the record at CSU for the 55-meter dash. And they no longer run 55 meters, they run 60. So I am in the record books forever at CSU. Yeah, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So that's a fun story that I like to tell. And I like to tell my kids as well that, hey, I'm in the record books forever. So I think there's like one meet a year where they run the 55, but it's so early in the year that I don't know. You have to have somebody really fast to beat that. So, but back to my story. So after college, my journey to health and wellness and movement really changed because I was no longer working out for competition. So I really had to figure out a groove for myself. So I just started working out, from the age of 25 to about 27, 28. Had my first kid when I was the age of 25. So I didn't have that child. My wife had that child. But so we welcomed our first child when I was 25 years old. And by the time I was 27, we had welcomed our second child. And I was doing some pretty interesting things at that time. I was powerlifting at that time. So probably weighed about 5'8". I probably at that time weighed about 215, 220 pounds. And I was I was muscle bound. I could barely put my hands a bit down here. When I was talking on the phone, I couldn't do this. So I was doing this all the time. So it was a very interesting and very, how can I say, very bulky time in my life. But my workouts are very interesting. I would start off with pull-ups, dips, and power cleans, and that would be my warm-up before I would start my workouts. I was running 3 days a week. I was playing basketball the other two, had a group of guys that I worked out with, and I was a principal of a charter school at this time. And I thought I was a quintessential picture of health, right? Had muscles, had, feeling good about myself. I'm a young dad. I can do anything with my kids and have fun. And then I decided to go get my blood work. So at this time, I was 28 years old, and we had just welcomed our third child. And I went to get my blood work, and the doctor called me and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you right away." And, that's never good when the doctor tells you, "Hey, I need to talk to you right away." So what I ended up doing was going to the doctor, and he told me my cholesterol was far higher than it should be for someone my age. And he gave me choices. He said, "It's so high, as a matter of fact, you're going to either need to go on medication or change your diet, because if you keep doing what you're doing right now, then you're going to be in a pretty bad health situation pretty soon." So the silent killer was lurking in my veins and in my bloodstream, and my cholesterol was what was doing that. So went home and told my wife, and she looked at me and she said, "We're changing your diet." And I felt the same way, because I did not want to be popping pills from the age of 28 till for the rest of my life, because that's going to cause other problems. So we started by going with a low fat diet, right? So start removing fats from my diet, and eventually started doing that. And at this time, I was in my master's program, right? I was still working out the same, and I was, started to change my diet. That's all I did. So that was going okay. But I came home from one of my master's classes one night, and my wife was sitting there with now our fourth child. So we, time frame there is a little bit truncated, but now we have our fourth child, and our fourth child is an infant. And whenever my wife would eat dairy, then she'd breastfeed my child, and he would projectile vomit. So that was a very interesting thing. So she was trying to figure that out. So come home one night, and she's watching this documentary called Eating. And it's talking about cholesterol and the connection between cholesterol and meat and all these different foods. And so my wife looks at me and she said, "Babe, I'm going vegan." And so I said, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm going vegan because I think that's going to be the best thing for me and our child, Jackson, that's the name of our youngest child." And so I looked at her and I said, "You know what? Me too." And so then from there, we started going vegan. And around that time, my wife also picked up a yoga practice, a home yoga practice. And I didn't think nothing of it at this time. But what I did was my life started getting really busy. So my wife started doing yoga, and my life started getting really busy, and my workout started to slip. I wasn't able to leave and go spend an hour at the gym, 2 hours at the gym. So I said, what am I going to do now to kind of give myself a workout? So I bought the P90x series, but I didn't really catch on to that. But what I really did that changed my life was I started to commit myself to doing 100 push-ups every morning. And so at that time, I could only do about 10, 20 push-ups at a time. So it would take me a good 45 minutes to an hour in the morning to do that. So I would get up early. I was working 2 jobs at this time. So I get up really early in the morning and I do my 100 push-ups, right? And started to notice a difference after a month, start feeling good. And I started to want to add things, right? So you start to see changes and you start saying, maybe I can add some things. So then I went and got some dumbbells and started doing 100 push-ups and then some bicep curls, right? And then I started changing that into some bicep curls and then some shoulder press and then standing squats, right? So pretty soon I had this routine in the morning that started from just doing 100 push-ups a day. And so that routine turned into a nice habit. And then I returned to those P90X videos And my wife noticed what was the changes in me with the habits that I'm creating by this morning workout. So she's like, hey, I want to join in some of these workouts. So working out, and I'm telling you, if you start doing movement is medicine and it is contagious. So if you start a routine in your house, guarantee after a while, other folks in your house are going to want to join in. They're going to notice the difference. You're going to notice the difference. You're going to feel better. And so then it's going to start catching on. So we started doing this P90x workout. And in the P90x workout, they have a yoga video in there. And the yoga video, he kind of yells in the yoga. Now that I'm actually a yoga instructor, and we're going to get there. But the yoga was kind of weird, but it kind of introduced me to yoga. And I was like, this is not bad. It's, it's hard, but it's really working on some flexibility. And what I didn't know, and I knew my wife was practicing yoga, but for me at that time, yoga, that's a thing for the ladies. It's not for guys like me. I'm a weightlifter, so if I go to work out, I'm going to lift some weights, I'm going to do this the real way. So that was my mindset. Well, fast forward, I'm still working out this way, and we're vegan, we're changing diets, and I'm dropping weight, and things are starting to look and feel good. But the workouts are rather inconsistent. And if you know anything about weightlifting, as soon as you start weightlifting, you're going to start needing more weights because you start hitting plateaus if you don't increase your weight on a regular basis. So I started to kind of be stagnant at this one level. Well, then it's about this time where we decided to move to Fort Collins. I took a job at Colorado State University. And when we get there, my wife jumps into a yoga training to become a yoga instructor. And guess who she uses to practice? Yours truly. So she's using me as her practice dummy when she has to practice teach and all that. So I'm at the house, all of a sudden, I'm starting to get kind of decent at yoga, and I'm starting to feel really good doing it, right? So she starts teaching. And guess what I started doing? Going to every one of her classes. So now I'm doing yoga 3 days a week, in addition to this morning routine, which is morphed into, I bought a big pull-up machine. And in that pull-up machine, I have pull-up bar. I'm doing pull-ups, I'm doing dips, I'm doing push-ups, I'm doing leg ups. And then I have a straight bar that I'm doing all kinds of stuff with, and with some weights that I can change out. So I have this hour-long routine in the morning, and I'm doing yoga 3 days a week. So I start looking and feeling great. And the benefits for yoga started to really take off. And so what ended up happening is my wife ends up joining a Black yoga group down in Denver, part of a group called I'm Unique. And they host a training. And my wife is co-teaching this training at this point. And she asked me, Dwayne, you want to join in this training? My answer, yes, was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And if you know anything about yoga, yoga is a great industry, but there's not a lot of brown folks in yoga, and there's definitely not a lot of brown teachers. So all of a sudden, I find myself a part of this yoga community of teachers that are all Black. And we start developing such a close, tight-knit relationship. We start practicing yoga. We start doing community events in Denver. We start doing all kinds of things under the lens of yoga that literally changed my life, changed my perspective on life, and changed everything that's taking place in my life. And that's where the idea of movement is medicine comes from. Because movement for me has transformed into something that's beyond weights. I don't even actually do weights anymore. I use bands, and I do a lot of natural push-ups and sit-ups. And we have a group, that same Black yoga group, we meet every day, and we do 15-minute workouts, which we call our Strong Lungs Initiative. And in our Strong Lungs Initiative, what we're trying to do is do workouts that help increase your cardiovascular strength and increase your lung capacity. We meditate every day for 5 to 10 minutes of deep breathing designed to help open up your lungs and continue to have us have a healthy um, physical bodies. Now, I'm about sustainability. So for me, working out with weights is not a sustainable practice for people who are in their 60s or 70s. By then, your ligaments may be feeling a little different and you want to just preserve your ability to walk. So yoga, bands, push-ups, squats, anything where I'm working with my body and I do 200-300 reps of it is a positive thing for me and what I've leaned into. And I have kept my physical fitness and into a great level because of the idea of movement is medicine. And I find ways to move and I find people to move with. I can't emphasize enough how great it is to have a community of people around you where you can move with, where you can say, hey, um, these are my group of people. We are encouraging each other. We're inspiring. We send good messages. We have great conversation and we move together and we stay healthy together. Before the pandemic, we used to get together and cook, we'd eat, we'd move, we'd have a lot of fun. We do community events where we're inviting the community out. We've had large events where we have people from all classifications of life, different race, gender, sexual orientation, all that. And we have a great time practicing yoga and building community with each other. So for me, for the rest of my life, I will be moving. And I encourage you all to continue to move and to find your routine. If the morning's not your groove, make it an evening routine. If the morning or evening are too busy for you because you work 2 jobs like I've done in the past, maybe find 15 minutes at lunch where you can do it if that's possible for you. But whatever you do, figure out a way to move your body and connect that with your mind by meditation or anything like that. So any questions? I'll pause for a minute to see if anybody's here listening in the chat. If you want to throw a question in the chat, you got something to share from the stories I've shared. Again, I'm a certified yoga instructor now, and I'm actually on my way to getting my 500 hours so I can teach yoga instructors. So yoga is a huge part of my life and a huge part of movement for me. And thank you for that question. So how do you find a community of people to move with? Well, there's a lot of different movement groups out there. You can subscribe to kind of that Orange Theory kind of mindset where you kind of build yourself a cohort and community of people that you work with. I would say the biggest thing to do is go to different studios, go to different gyms and see if you can start finding folks that you can work with. It's going to take a little bit of time. I didn't run into my group overnight, but I do tell you that your consistency showing up at either a yoga studio, at a gym, at a workout facility where it could be Zumba, bachata, dance, anything like that. Your consistency showing up there is where your community will come from. If I would have just done yoga once or twice or just dabbled in it and tried it a little bit, you're not going to find that community through a couple times. But what you are going to find is your consistency showing up will have people start to invest in you. And once people start investing in you, then you will start seeing that exchange of energy and that exchange of ideas and say, hey, this is someone who I might want to connect with. And anytime you move with folks, you get the endorphins that you build and the satisfaction that you get by looking at someone else saying, we did it, is where that kind of camaraderie will come from. So who you move with comes from your consistency showing up. If you can't do that nowadays, there's tons of online groups that are showing up. So look at different studios, look at different gyms that offer online options and maybe start there, especially during this pandemic. I do a lot of my yoga classes online because I'm not going into studios right now, which is fine for me. And I found some community through those things too. But again, it comes from your consistency showing up to those places. So whatever place it is, there's a lot of adult fitness groups. Actually, a few friends of mine I know, they actually do adult fitness groups. I actually practice vinyasa flow yoga. So I don't subscribe to hot yoga, Bikram yoga, any of those kinds of. I will do them and I will go to those classes, but I'm trained in just vinyasa flow yoga. So I plan, and Shambhala yoga is another style that I've trained in a little bit. But I like to have every class that I teach, every class that I go to, I like the flow to be different. If you don't, then like a core power series, you can go there. Bikram is another one where you're going to get the exact same flow every time. Some people enjoy that. I enjoy going to class not knowing necessarily what I'm going to do, or when a teacher asks me, hey, what do you want to work on today? And I even do that in my classes. I'll say, hey, what do you all want to work on today? And you won't find, even if I teach two classes in the same day, those two classes probably won't be the same. I'll design different flows and change up some things so that we're always trying new poses and trying to expand the possibilities for people. So that's what I like. Um, Hot yoga actually is a good form of yoga to, if you really like to sweat. I enjoy it and it really opens me up so I can access some different poses that I can't necessarily access in a regular class. I can, but it's easier to in a hot yoga class. So, um, oh yeah, nice. Yeah, with COVID right now, that's a tough one. And that's why I say a lot of gyms and a lot of studios have online components. And that's what I do. I'm with you. I am not a real big fan of the gyms right now, especially because in yoga you do a lot of asking people to breathe deep, inhale deeply, and exhale. And I wouldn't be able to focus in a class right now if people around me are breathing deeply. So I like to do online yoga. We have a room set up in our house for yoga and wellness, and that's just our commitment to always have a space like that in our home. So whenever we're ready to do yoga, we're members of a studio called The River in Denver, and they do online classes. So we just pop online, and all we pretty much have access to all the teachers that we do in the studio. There's a few that don't teach online, but most of them at least teach one or two classes online that fit my schedule. And the cool thing about being a yoga instructor is if you don't want to, if you can't find a class, I can just create my own flow. And a lot of times I'll do that where I'll get up in the morning, and if I'm having an off day from a workout or I'm having kind of a down day, then I'll just get on my mat and I'll just flow, and I'll just warm myself up, and then I'll just create my own flow. And sometimes that flow I create becomes a class that I teach later on, which is kind of cool. So, yeah. So if there's any more questions, please put them in the chat. If not, then I would like to move with you all for a few. Yes. So, I think, and I can actually cover this in two things, because something I actually just recently recovered from COVID, and it was a milder version, but there's some similarities between recovering from an injury and recovering from COVID. And I'll start with injury. Whenever you recover from injury, I think the biggest key is to be patient with yourself. Um, and yet you still need to challenge yourself, and it depends on the type of person you are. If you're a type of person that's more prone to relax and more prone to take a day off of working out, then you're going to have to really try to get the energy back up to kind of go out and move again. And I like to say, if you're recovering from injury, whether it's upper body or lower body, start with walking, and start with walking miles, right? So if I was to hurt my leg and I can move again, as soon as I can start moving, if I can only walk a block, if it's a lower body injury and I can only walk a block, walk a block. And same thing with COVID. If I'm recovering from COVID, if it's a heavy case of COVID, if soon as you can start walking again, walk a block, and that block is going to be hard. I'm gonna tell you right, that block is going to wear you out a little bit. And even with a lower body injury, walking that block may be tough. But it's important for you to do it, and it's important for you to complete it, because mentally it starts to get you back in the mindset of, oh, okay, I can move again. And that's the whole idea of movement is medicine, is that it doesn't have to be some super dynamic movement. It just has to be movement. Um, you know, the older you get, the harder it can be to get up from the floor. So sometimes in a yoga class, if I have someone older there, then we will just do a couple things that make you have to get up off the ground, because being able to stand up, being able to get up, those are things that you want to always have the ability to do. And those are movement. So those are important. So as you're recovering from an injury, and if it's an upper body injury, then whatever you have to do, you can still try to move your arms and stuff as you walk to try to get that movement in those arms. Bands are another thing that helps out, because bands, they don't put the stress on your ligaments. The bands, they actually still work your muscles, but your ligaments don't really get to have to do all the work to hold it up. So, but walking is the one that I start with. And as soon as you can start walking more, start continuing to push yourself to walk a little bit more. And your goal to me would be to find some 2.5 mile loop that's around your house. Everywhere I've lived, I've always found a nice little 2 mile loop. And I always walk that, no matter what working out I'm doing. Me and my wife will always get up, and we'll always, especially when it's warm, when it's cold, she doesn't do the cold. So we generally kind of take some of those winter months off unless it's a nice day. Um, but we always try to get out and walk a couple miles every day. And that's important for us. So if you're recovering from injury, that's important for you too, to get up and walk every day and try to get to a couple miles. Then once you feel comfortable with that, you'll start adding things in. So what happens is, after you walk, you come in, you got a little bit of a sweat. Now that's a time where you start stretching and start getting your flexibility back. Then once you do that, then you can start incorporating some small weights and bands, and start to slowly ease your way back into it, right? And you can change it up. There's no wrong thing to be doing unless it's hurting that part of your body that was injured. That's the wrong thing to do. But as long as you're not creating new pain in your body, then you can do any kind of movement you want. But walking and stretching are two of the main things that you want to do, because the movement that's going to keep you healthy for the rest of your life is your ability to walk and your ability to stay flexible. Flexibility is an underrated skill set that actually leads to healthy. The more flexible you are, the healthier you actually are. And those are the things that I like to focus on. So, yeah, and I will tell you this. I'm looking to try to offer some classes around campus, maybe outdoors when it gets warmer, maybe on the oval or something like that. I just want to kind of get people together to move. So I will tell you, routines are tough to build, but I will tell you, be patient with yourself, because sometimes it's harder to forgive yourself for missing days when you plan to do a routine, especially around this time, right? This is resolution time. This is when people are going the hardest. And then soon as work kicks back in, kids and life and school and other responsibilities kick in, it's easy to drop off of that routine. But give yourself grace if you miss a day, if you miss 2 days, and just get back on it and try to start over, right? That grace that you give yourself, that forgiveness that you give yourself, is going to be important, because there are days where you just miss. There are days that you just aren't going to do it. But if you stay committed to building a routine, eventually that routine will stick. And that's been true for me across my whole life. There's been weeks and months where I've gotten away from doing my morning routine, and I have to forgive myself. I have to accept where I'm at, and I just have to start over again. And it's really hard to keep starting over again. But for me, when I think about the benefits that I'm going to get at the other end, it's worth it to me to try to get back on my routine. And if that routine doesn't work, I try something different. I mean, I'm on to, now we do these things called hundreds. And this came out of us walking. We would walk our 2 miles. We come back, we do 100 squats, 100 calf raises, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. And takes about 15, 20 minutes to do. The push-ups take a little longer than the other things, but do them on your knees if you have to, wherever space you got to do. And then just continue to build. And maybe yours are hundreds. Maybe you start with 20s or 50s, if that works for you. Whatever you do, move. And that's the whole key, is to do movement as medicine. So how about I show y'all a little bit about some things that I do in the morning. And what I'm going to show you all, if you've done yoga, you've seen this before. It's called a sun salutation. And so here's the routine that I would do. And if you got a minute, I'm just going to take you through a quick little breathing thing that I do. So I always close my eyes and I always relax my face. Make sure your face is relaxed, especially your jaws and your forehead. So you can't relax and breathe if you're doing this. And this is not necessarily meditation. This is just breathing, right? And I have some cool stories about breath, right? So if you translate the word spirit in Hebrew, in like 5 or 6 different languages, that word translates directly to breath, right? So breath is so important, and it's a gift to us. And deep breathing for 5 minutes a day has so many health benefits in your body. So I usually do this routine where I'll relax and I'll inhale for the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll hold at the top and I'll exhale that same count of 5. 3, 2, 1. And when you inhale, you want to expand your belly. Exhale, you bring your belly button towards your spine. So I do that 5 times. And then 5 seconds for 5 times. Then I go 7 seconds 7 times. And then I built myself all the way up to go 9 seconds, then 11 seconds, and then 13 seconds. When you're breathing, there's a couple things that I tell people. Be patient. It's not a race. So breathing is going to be hard sometimes to sit there and do it at first, but you got to be able to stay focused. And that's why you focus on your breath. Your mind's going to be racing. Your mind's going to be going, but just focus on your breath. It's also a nice time. If you are religious in any way, shape, or form, it fits into any prayer practice, because you can talk to God. You can talk to whatever your higher power is while you breathe, or you can just sit and be and feel your body and feel your heartbeat, feel your lungs expanding. And it's just a great practice to do. So then after that, as you can see, I got me a nice little yoga mat set up here. So if you don't have a yoga mat, you don't necessarily need one. But what you can do, you start here with your sun salutation. You put your feet almost shoulders width apart, slightly engage your kneecaps, tuck your pelvis, roll your shoulders up and back, palms facing out. Now you sweep your hands up. You sweep your hands up high and you come down. Inhale, halfway lift, and then go into push-up position. From push-up position, you can lower all the way down and roll up for up dog. Then you tuck your toes, lift your hips for down dog. Step your foot through in between your hands. You can drop to a knee if you want, or keep your knee up. And then you lift up. Bring your hands back down. Step back into down dog. Now bring the other leg through. Hands up. Come back down. Back to down dog. Walk your hands between your feet, between your hands. Inhale, and then go back down. Sweep your hands all the way back up and come back to center. So that's called a sun salutation routine. And that's another fun, easy movement to do in the morning. So I usually do that facing east, facing the sun. And if you have a window where the sunlight comes in, it is beautiful to do that while the sun is hitting you. It is just phenomenal. So that's called a sun sal. So I do those in the morning before I start my routine. I would say do that probably 3 to 5 times, that routine, 3 to 5 times. So you start up, go down, up dog, down dog, put your foot forward, hands up, back to down dog, other foot forward, back to down dog, bring your feet between your hands and come back up. So, and there's some cool things that you can do, like floating in between there if you want to do some more advanced yoga poses. But again, the whole purpose of me sharing that with you was to say, whatever you choose to do in the morning, whatever you choose to do in the evening, whatever time you choose to set aside for you, if you have to wake up earlier to physically move your body, do it. I started having kids and my life got way too busy to go spend an hour or two at the gym. When I got off of work, I needed to go home, give my wife a break, and be with my kids and be with my family. I couldn't go to the gym. So if you have that ability to do that, more power to you. Plan some time to make sure you get to the gym. If you don't, what I did was create home workout stuff. So we found a space that we use for workouts inside. I put some workout equipment in my garage, my bands and my pull-up bars and all that are in the garage. So I have over the years, I've put small amounts of money into making sure that I have a setup to be able to work out from home, because I'd rather be here where I can support my family and do everything I need to do here. And then I can go to work and take my kids to school and do that. So my workout routine, I'm up at 5 a.m. I get my workout done before 6:30. I'm waking up the kids. I'm cooking breakfast. I'm engaging my family. And I've already got my fitness and my workout in for the day. And so now I'm feeling good. So when I greet my kids, I'm already happy. I'm already in a good mood because I've already moved. And if I've woken up on the wrong side of the bed, I've already worked that energy out. So it's important to find your routine. And again, I can't stress enough, whatever you do, find a way to move and find a way to take care of your health and wealth. Breathe and move. That's what I say. That's all I got for you all today, unless anybody has any more questions in the chat. It was nice for you all to spend some time with me today. I thank you all very much. And
thank you so much. I don't think we have any other questions. We'll give it one more second just to make sure. But I don't see any more at the moment. Just a reminder for everyone that this will be available on our YouTube channel immediately after we conclude here. So if you want to wake up tomorrow morning and remind yourself how to do a sun salutation, it's going to be on YouTube. It'll be there for you. So you can spend your morning with Dwayne tomorrow doing a sun salutation. Sounds like a good way to start the day to me. I love it. Cool. Well, no more questions, it doesn't look like, so we'll go ahead and call it a day. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. We hope to see you at some more at the New Year's series next week or the following week. And thank you so much, Dwayne, for your time. We really appreciate it. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. Much love to everybody out there. Keep moving, folks.